Dr. J. Smith here. I'm speaking from a country in Central America. I'm not home, as you can tell. This is not my office. And I'm speaking today, the 15th of August, purposely because quite a few people are emailing and texting me about what's happening in Afghanistan right now as we speak. And you have been watching the news, you have seen it on all of the major news channels. I've been keeping track of what's been going on. It looks like Kabul has now fallen. They've taken over the presidential palace. A lot of Americans are stranded, so are others. Many of those who've been working with the Americans are also stranded. They have sent in American troops, 1,000 troops, which I think makes up about 6,000 troops that are there. But they're there just to get the Americans out, and all of those who work with the Americans. Each of the European countries are doing likewise. What we're seeing in Afghanistan is reminiscent of what we saw earlier in Vietnam. And you're seeing helicopters fly over and land at the U.S. Embassy, much like we saw there in Saigon. For those of you who remember that, those were vivid details, and it was obvious at the end of that the Vietnamese considered it a victory against their foes, America, and I would suggest that history has supported that view, that we lost that war in Vietnam, which is the question people are asking. What does this mean now? Have we lost the war in Afghanistan? Will this have repercussions concerning going forward? How will Muslims take this, and how are we to take it? Not only as Americans, but those of us who live in the West who are speaking about Islam and who are trying to interpret Islam for those of the others who do not understand it, or probably are not even aware of what Islam is doing here. Let's be careful though, let's be careful. This is only Afghanistan. This is not Islam worldwide. Let's do not confuse the two. What's happening in Afghanistan remains in Afghanistan. You will see there are leaders. Here's a picture of one of them who is claiming that we are patient, we will take our time, and this is the first step of many steps. We will take over not just Afghanistan, we are going to take over the whole world, and we are patient. We can do so at our own leisure and at our own pace. Those are big words, and people are alarmed by that. This is the same thing that Muslims said. This is what ISIS said when they took over Mosul, and when they took over Tikrit, and they took over much of the northern part of Iraq. This is what Muslims say everywhere. Boko Haram has said this. Whenever they have been able to take over land, they then claim that they are not only interested in that land, they're interested in the whole world. Afghanistan, however, is a unique place. It is isolated, it is mountainous. The Taliban have been able to filter in and out. The British are famous for saying that nobody has been able to control Afghanistan. And the British have known for centuries that nobody can control Afghanistan, and the reason is very simple. Because of the mountainous terrain, it is almost impossible to control the countryside. What has happened recently is that United States really got fed up with a war that never seemed to stop. 20 years we have been there in Afghanistan, 20 long years, and at some point we needed to get out. And every president and the last few presidents has said that we will pull troops out. Unfortunately, Biden made a big platform. It was a very strong platform for him, and he did exactly what he said he would do, and he told the whole world, including the Taliban, that he was leaving by August. Well, the Taliban have been waiting exactly for someone to say just that, and they are now accommodating Biden, and they're moving in. Now, most all the pundits, the European pundits, the American pundits, even our war generals have all said that this would probably take a month or probably 3 months before Afghanistan would fall. It's happened within a few days. Within a few days, Afghanistan has fallen, and I think this is the misunderstanding we have in the West of the will of the Afghani people. The Afghan government and the Afghan military have 3 times the number of troops that the Taliban have. And yet, the Taliban are now on the outskirts of Kabul as we speak, have taken over the presidential paddles as we speak. The president of Afghanistan has already fled the country. They are about to announce the Emirate of Afghanistan as we speak. Either later on tonight or tomorrow, it will be a country under control of the Taliban, the dreaded Taliban, the Taliban that want to take Afghanistan back to the 7th century, back to the original Islam, the Islam under Muhammad, the Islam that they believe is the Rashidun period, the golden age of Islam. And they will probably do that. And then we will see all kinds of stories, atrocities. You will see many freedoms that will be eradicated. And of course, many Afghani citizens that help the Americans that are trapped there, who cannot leave, who will be persecuted and probably be killed. And we're going to see atrocity after atrocity, and it will become a weeping sore for the news to either cover or try to hide away. But this is Afghanistan. This is not Islam worldwide. So please, I'm hearing people alarmed that this means this is the beginning of Armageddon. This is the beginning of the end. No, it is not. This is just Afghanistan. Landlocked Afghanistan, a very hilly, mountainous country that nobody has been able to control. The British couldn't do it, the Russians couldn't do it, and the Americans can't do it. And I don't think anybody was under any impression that Americans were planning to stay there long term. Every president, as I said, has wanted to leave. So we must be careful that we don't listen to what the Afghanis are saying and suddenly assume that they are going to move beyond Afghanistan. They will not move beyond Afghanistan. What we do need to be aware of is that many Muslims will use this as a victory for Islam. Not all, not everyone, not many of my friends, but some will, to show that America is weakening. America is not weakening because of what happened in Afghanistan. Americans have always wanted to get out of Afghanistan. The only reason we went there was really for revenge. As much as Americans don't like to say this, really that's all the reason we went there, is to get Osama bin Laden. And we didn't even find him in Afghanistan, we found him in Pakistan at Abbottabad. And that's why when we killed him and got rid of him, really, that was when Americans were ready to leave Afghanistan because the job had been done. Retribution had been gained. And the Taliban waited until we were ready for someone like Biden to say exactly the disastrous thing and even tell them when he was going to leave. That's not the cleverest thing in the world, and I'm sure that Biden will be blamed for much of what you're going to see in the days to come. It'll come down to bite Biden in the back or in the other area. What we need to be careful is that this is only one country, this is only one problem, and this problem will continue to fester as Afghanistan has always festered for people, for Western powers and for Western governments. And it will continue to do so for Americans because we have been the latest caught in that country. What does that mean for the rest of us who are dealing with Islam? I think we need to make sure that we put it in perspective. And we leave Afghanistan in Afghanistan. We leave the problems of Afghanistan there. And we don't assume that what happens to Afghanistan will happen to us or the rest of the world. Please, 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 please. Let's don't fall into that trap. Islam is going to fall at one point. Yes, it will fall, but it will not be because of the Taliban or Al-Qaeda or ISIS or Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab or any of these radical groups. It will fall because it will implode on itself. It will implode on its own authority. It will implode on the problems with the Quran. It will implode on the problems with Muhammad himself. It will implode on the city of Mecca. These are the three things that we're focusing on because this really is the Achilles heel of Islam. And that will happen not with bombs, bullets, and cruise missiles, not with weapons of this world, as it says in 2 Corinthians 10. In verse 5, it will be arguments. Arguments is what we're going to use. And take captive every thought and make it obedient to Jesus Christ. And that's what's going to bring down Islam. And that's what's going to bring down all this chaos that we have seen for 1400 years. And that's what's going to shut down, probably, hopefully, a lot of the violence that we see perpetrated by Muslims who take the Quran, who take Muhammad, who take Mecca seriously and believe that that is the answer for the world, just like the Taliban. So that's my thoughts for today on the 15th of August. We will see what happens in the days to come. I will probably have to come back and interrupt my trip and try to give you updates as to what's going on. But let's do not wring our hands. Let's do not get all excited. Let's not start fretting that this is the end of the world or the beginning of Islam. Radical Islam is going to take over the world. No. It's sad for Afghanistan. I'm sorry to see that 20 years that have been invested by Americans, all the many Americans whose lives have been lost there in Afghanistan. I'm sad to see all the schools that were created, all the roads that were built. I'm sad even to see all the military hardware that has been left behind that will now be in the hands of the Afghani, the Taliban, I'm sorry. It's sad to see that it has all gone up in flames, and it's happened very much quicker than the pundits believed. But this is only in Afghanistan, and we must remain in Afghanistan. Let's don't blow it out of proportion. That's all I ask. Okay, this is Jay here in Central America. Over and out.